Well, let's move on to the next question, which is from Shay, who says, where do we draw the line between our moral obligation to ourselves and family, if you agree there is any such obligation, and our obligation to the people globally in the most need?
Yeah, that's a difficult question to ask, obviously. And every individual is going to draw the line somewhere else. I'm certainly...
And another disrupted university event, this time at the University of Victoria, which is out in British Columbia in Canada, out west. This event featured philosopher Peter Singer from Princeton, although it was a live-streamed event in which the event screened one of his TED Talks, essentially on helping to solve world poverty. And then Singer was Skyped in to answer questions from the audience. But instead of that, and I will show a few clips, a student activist group, some kind of disability group, showed up to protest Singer's views on disability. And I'll get to some of that. But here's some of the clips of the event. So the general, what was supposed to happen is the TED Talk and then the Q&A. But during both of these things, this activist group showed up, stormed the stage, and read off prepared notes and some kind of death list of people with disabilities, and they were just basically trying to filibuster the whole event and just kept speaking over top of it, over top of their videos, over top of their student speakers. But anyways, here's a few clips.
Free speech, then listen the fuck to us.
Yeah.
West was almost done with her shift when she heard the loud sound of the long buzzer.
I don't believe in this guy.
Walking out into the hall with her cane, she could see the flashing
Let me
warning
choose
lights
for myself.
signaling a
No.
new arrival.
There's something that I'd like you to see.
It's a story that's deeply unsettled millions in China. Footage.
A very good eyes. What gives me hope, though, is the fact that we are making a huge amount of progress on a whole lot
You shouldn't have to debate with someone who wants to murder children. Good for you.
You don't support this guy, but we're here. Then discuss with him. Have a reading.
Not just apologizing for you.
No, you don't.
We don't steal a platform to people who want to murder toddlers.
You don't need to be
There's no such thing as a philosophy in death.
are 1 to 3 years old and you were pro-abortion, but then you don't like your the most
I never told you what I was.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for staying with us. So we just found a way to kind of record this, hopefully, because a lot of people can't hear, unfortunately, because the folks in front have a microphone or whatever that thing is called. What's it called? Anyway.
you. They have no respect for freedom of speech.
So as you can see, this was a rude and egregious attack on free speech by this group. And unfortunately, this seems to be a pattern, as has been happening to recently Charles Murray, Ben Shapiro, Milo, etc. And you might know that Jordan Peterson is supposed to speak at another Canadian university March 18th. So we'll see what happens there. But these people, so there's two things I want to mention. The first thing is that these people don't like Peter Singer's views on euthanasia. And his views on euthanasia is that if a child is born with a genetic disease in which either their life is extremely short or their suffering will be extremely high, then Peter Singer thinks that it's humane to either abort that child or to euthanize that child because of the life they're going to live. And this disabilities group think that's ableism, which again is a mistake, and also not even a coherent concept. But this is for in cases where this child has no standard of living whatsoever. And so essentially, what these people want to do, even if the child has a terminal disease or related short lifespan, they're basically environmentalists. They believe that born in suffering should remain suffering until a natural suffering death. That's the position of this disabilities group. And to any intelligent person, that is ridiculous. And of course, isn't it ironic that those who believe it is wrong to euthanize babies born with terminal illnesses are also probably pro-abortion? Those are more contradictions that fill these various activist groups. That's the first strike. Second strike for this group is that they think that this was free speech. Them coming in and disrupting an event, trespassing on the event, they thought this was free speech. And this is connected to what's going on in the UK. There's some kind of anti-platform movement going on in the UK, and so their whole purpose, of course, is they're an anti-free speech group. And they don't want, they are the judge, they're the enlightened few of these students. They are the judge of who gets to speak on university campuses or in public at public events. And they don't want anyone to have a platform that they disagree with. That's essentially their position, these anti-platform, idiots. But this is not a free speech issue. It is a free speech issue if the university student newspaper wouldn't publish your well-written critique of some issue, or that the university would not let your club have an event of some issue. That would be a free speech issue. It is not a free speech issue to disrupt an event. It would not be a free speech issue to show up at a football game and storm the field and have your speech, or disrupt a professor's lecture because you want to say something. That is not a free speech issue. And isn't it also interesting how these students, who are very privileged students compared to the rest of the world, have themselves a platform, and look how they use it. So these anti-platform people in the UK, but also here in the University of Victoria, look how they use these platforms that they commandeer, that they use force to take. Look how they use those platforms. All they do, as many activist groups do, they have their parroted slogans that they repeat over and over again because they're unthinking people. And they convince no one. They piss off the audience who actually wanted to attend the event and see what Peter Singer had to say. And they had questions they wanted to ask him. And this group instead believes that, no, we're going to stop this because we know better. We're the enlightened few. And all of you other people have to hear what we have to say, and then you'll all be converted, and then you'll join us, and then the world will be solved. That's it. So someone is giving these students the false idea that they are the enlightened ones. And of course, I also resent all of these events. Not only does it show those who have their ears, who cover their ears and don't want to hear a different point of view, but they go around and cover everybody else's ears by disrupting the event. This should be seen as a university issue. And the university, in defending their role as an educational institution, ought to have better security and hold those people out and give them sanctions. They should not be allowed to disrupt student interest or student events, especially in which features outside researchers, intellectuals, professors, whatever it might be, to prevent a point of view. This professor, Peter Singer, has more prestige than anyone that's ever been at the University of Victoria, and certainly more prestige than the combined a nobody of this disability group. And yet the disrespect that these students show to this professor is inane.